talk track anyway. So,
100%. Yeah. What are
hey,
you
Henry,
carrying today?
that was quick. People are already popping in.
Oh, hey. What's going on, guys?
So, how long are you thinking you're going to run the business before you go full time?
So I will based on kind of the projections that I have, I'll this is my second year in business. I'll hit six figures in revenue this year. And I need to do about half a million, about 500,000 in revenue in order to be able to pay myself enough to make what I make now.
Cool.
So so I would assume, like, if but it's hard. I would have never guessed it would have taken me a year to do my first 100 orders and then 1 month to do my next 100 orders.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty
Not sure if you
good.
can see the chat. So Hey Fu, Clint, Marco, so you guys know me, Justin. This is Chris. He owns Lone Star Knife and Supply. Check out his website if you're looking for some American-made knives, shirts, stickers.
Dude, we have a lot of crazy stuff. We have machined pins, we have flashlights, pry bars. I'm just a real passionate like EDC enthusiast. So I've been a knife collector my whole life. And when I had kind of the opportunity to start a knife store, I jumped at it, and it's been growing a lot. And it's really exciting. I want to be able to quit my corporate 9 to 5 job and just be in the knife world 24/7.
It's
So
gonna
things
be
are
one of those days though where you discuss it, you discuss it, and you discuss it, and then like with my art, when I decided to go full time, it was just one of those days. Came home, said today sucked, and I'm not going back, and that was it.
yeah, dude. It will definitely be like that because working for a mega corporation. They change leadership all the time, and the person who I report to is a complete tool. And I mean, if he pushes it a little bit too far, I'm like, dude, I I'm okay. I don't need to put up with this.
Well, that sucks. Hey,
Yeah.
RG. um, so one thing that I think is funny that you already brought up. So like I've been doing build outs. I've been working with the Arc company pouches, and I love brush pens. I use them all the time. So I've been doing my build outs with those, but I have no tactical titanium. I mean, I have the aluminum Olight pen, and that is it. That is cool.
Can you see the what type of pattern that is?
Is that is that a pentagram?
It's a pentagram. Yeah.
Is that a tactile or
No, it's a Fellholter.
cool?
Actually got it from him at Blade Show, Texas.
Cool.
Yeah, it was good. I I don't take that one to work.
Hey, Kelly and Joe. That's
So
funny.
how did you get associated with ARC?
Um, they're huge on Instagram with the community and sharing if people use their stuff. Um, so actually I messaged them one time saying, I have leather slips for my slip joints, but I want something I can wash or something in case. Something that I'm not if I'm like, I'm gonna go out and might get messy. I
Hmm.
don't want to ruin my slip.
Yeah.
And they got back to me and was like, hey, we have a very small, it pretty much just holds like a flashlight or something, a small one, and we can put um, like microfiber cloth in it, do it as a custom. So I bought it, loved it, talked about it quite a bit. Um, and then, I've been doing these notebooks where I've been making, EDC notebooks, find like painting
Yeah.
some just like cartoony knives.
You're so creative.
Thank you. And so I just I messaged him and I was like, I think we might have something between the two of us here. And so I sent some notebooks. They sent me, pouch and kind of just going from there.
That's so cool, man. It's weird how life has a way of putting people together in an unpredictable way, you know? So kudos to you for taking your shot.
Well, yeah, and I think it's I don't know where the material source, but it's made in America, a very small home business. Sometimes you see all these really great photos and things, and you assume it's like this massive business, but it's not. It's guys like you in your garage. It's guys like me in my, room making a mess. It's really cool.
It is cool. I was in contact with them, and I encouraged them to be brave with their colors. So maybe you can also give a good
I
word
will.
on pretty colors. I would love to get maybe dude. I'll tell you what I'd really like a Mexican blanket style.
That'd be cool. I love color, as you can see, like around me, or if knives are offered in ridiculous color, I'm probably going to pick it up.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm all for that. Like pink is my friend, so it's like all the other colors. So,
I mean,
um,
honestly, how tactical can you be if you're afraid of colors?
you know, it, you know, if I get one of these in some crazy color, then that means I got to go pick up another knife in a crazy color, and then
Beautiful capitalism at work.
that's right.
Oh, I have to spend more money.
Yeah, and that's an interesting where I'm at right now. Hey Joe, Snail Trail. I'm not sure if you can see the chat or not.
I'm kind of far away from my phone,
Ah, I
the way I
got you.
have it set up, so
Um,
I don't see well. I'm old. Yeah, you know. Oh, love the Hank. Yeah, man, it's a Mighty Hank by Mighty Hank. I forgot her name, but we've chatted back and forth. I tried to get them to help me make a custom Mighty Hank for my store, and she responded, and then just all of a sudden was like, "Oh God, let me just not reply." Or maybe she got
hey,
busy. She has
Mad
joy.
Jakob, custom. He will do customs.
That's cool.
And if you ask anybody that has some, well, I mean, you bought one.
I have one.
The,
Yeah,
the quality is really good. And what I like
gigantic.
is, aside from like those or customs, he will hit up thrift shops, find really cool patterns. Like this was an old Hawaiian shirt, like he found at like Goodwill,
Oh, that's
and he
cool.
made like a dozen hanks out of it. I don't know. I just think that's really cool.
That is cool. Remind me what
Um,
state you're in, Justin?
I'm in Iowa.
You're in Iowa. What's the weather like in Iowa?
Today it is about 80 with 80% humidity.
Oh man, I'm glad you're inside.
Yeah. So it's actually considered nice. Like our winters will be -20, and our summers can get up to 120. And the closest thing to me is the Mississippi, which is a little over an hour away. So the humidity just stays in the air. Like we don't have like my knives don't rust because we don't have salt in the air,
Hmm.
but the humidity just lingers all summer.
It's lovely, man. Well, I'm in Texas, and I'm in North Texas, and we don't have humidity here really ever. It's dry and hot. But when it storms, like it stormed earlier today, so there is humidity in the air, and I am not used to it. It's probably 20% humidity, but man, oh, not very tactical when it comes to humidity.
Yeah, there'll be days we'll go outside in the summer and the glasses instantly fog and your shirt just sticks. And we have this phrase like going swimming means we're going outside.
Man. Have you ever been to Texas before?
I've not been to Texas. I've been to a lot of southern states, but not Texas.
But 2026, right?
That's the plan. That is definitely the plan. And I'm glad you
Blade
like it,
Show.
Dale. I appreciate that. And Bando's in Central Florida, he says.
Hey, Florida represent. Florida actually is the home of a knife maker that I just got a knife in stock, which I don't know if you've ever seen this before, Justin. This is the Heretic
Ooh.
knives,
I've never
and
got to get my hands on one of those yet.
take a look at this. This is the Manticore.
That teal?
It's got it. Well, they call it turquoise. I would say it's teal. And this little guy is the first Heretic knives I've ever used. It's got this Bowie style
That's cool.
blade, 2.6 inches, and titanium milled clip. When I first saw this, I was like, man, this is really nice. And I was really surprised that this was $166. I'm sorry,
Uh,
$266.
I was like, wow.
Ah,
I was like, I'll take two.
$266. That's like that's like really a very attractive price. So little smaller than an Ultra Tech.
So I guess I do have a couple topics. One thing will be like where my channel's at and getting
Yeah.
opinion. The other thing is we don't dive much into knife news on my channel as
Mhm.
opposed to like releases and things like that. But uh, some big news dropped yesterday. Um, Hawk Knives is suing Microtech, and
Huge news.
yeah, so I'm just curious about your. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. I mean, doesn't seem like there's going to be much back and forth, but like how it's going to be handled, you know?
Yeah. Here's my take. I've met what's the owner of Hawk Knives? I've met him before. It's like Jared or
Yeah,
Luke.
I
It's
am horrible with names.
Chat, help us out with the runner of Hawk. But I met him and I did an interview with him at Blade Show, Texas. And the guy is a passionate knife maker. There's a lot of guys who run knife businesses who are all about the business aspect of it. That they're about maximizing their profits. How can we reduce overhead? And then you've got guys like him who are really, really focused on the craft.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't his first time with problems where he has spent. Is it Gavin? Maybe. Yeah.
Gavin. Yeah, man.
Um. Thank you, Fook. Where he has spent years developing a new system, and it's been picked up pretty quick. Um.
So
So I guess that's something that we haven't seen. Hey, Ron Dobbins, how's it going? Um. And for everybody that just popped in, this is Chris. He owns Lone Star Knife and Supply.
what's going on, guys?
Feel free to check out his site. Pick up your next fancy knife there.
Mhm.
um,
Here's what I will say about the it all is that I think the community should be hesitant to go straight for the neck of Microtech as a company. Look, I'm not I don't know anybody at Microtech, but what I do know is uh, the way a lot of companies manufacture. It's not like the owner or most of the people at an organization know the mechanisms that are being used or the engineering processes that are happening. Um,
hey, Aries.
so, it's one of those things where the organization could definitely be liable for intellectual property theft without any shadow of a doubt. But it could be it might not be, the owners of the organization or, all the people who rely on Microtech for their livelihoods. It might not be their fault. And they probably don't know about it. So, I think the good news is it's being it's going to court. and that's public. Most of the time, they release that information publicly unless they come up with a settlement. And I'd be interested to see, if it was a situation where everyone knew and they're like, screw Gavin, he's a tool. We're going to steal it. He's not going to do jack about it. Then I think we should boycott the company, you know.
And
But
it's tough because I try to like what I like, carry what I like, but sometimes you can't avoid hearing about these things. And there comes into question, like, as soon as a knife is released, I'm not a breakdown knife kind of guy for my channel. But a lot of my friends are. So like, as soon as they say, hey, there's a new OTF with this, let's see what makes it work. So it's not like there wasn't videos out there or anything. So somebody's gonna see it, or at least see it, and then maybe a week later it's gonna be in their head or something. And I'm not blaming anybody here. I'm not a lawyer, but in the knife world where there's so many knockoffs, or um people like to jump to the word copy, or like it's curious. I've never seen like a, and I know there've been some in the past, but I've never seen a lawsuit in the knife world yet over something like this. So it'll be,
there
hopefully
was
it just that
one
they, hopefully
with,
they eventually just settle. Like, it's, lawyers have been brought up. What are we
well,
gonna do?
Benchmade and Spyderco had a huge lawsuit over the Spidey hole.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Oh, man.
Spyderco, they protected their intellectual property of having that Spidey hole. They sent cease and desist. They got people to not have regular holes for thumb studs for like a decade, almost 2 decades. And then Benchmade just did it, and they settled out of court. So
And
who
now
knows?
everybody's using the oval ones. Everybody goes oval.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right. Yeah. Or a weird like oblong thing. What's up?
The
So why
Aries
are we
says,
saying
was it a
Marco?
what?
Why are we saying Marco?
Um, Marco's in the chat.
Hey, Marco.
He's an amazing mod, by the way. So, Aries goes, was it a patent design like Benchmade had with their lock?
Mm.
That's another good one. All of a sudden, crossbars started popping up everywhere with a different name. Speaking of which,
Duralock.
Aries, you love fixed blades. You got to talk to Aries. It's stuff.
Yeah, man. We need more fixed blades on my site. But it's hard working with smaller makers because why wouldn't they sell themselves?
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
he pre-sells, I think.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, Ginger Fisher in the comments is saying like the crispy donut community got screwed over by Blade HQ. Um, I'm
Really?
I'm in agreement with that. I don't know if Blade HQ really can own the rights to sprinkles, but apparently it was close enough where the CDC guys don't have Blade HQ backing. So they were sent cease and desist, and they had no choice, I think. And I'm not an inside knowledge, so that's what I'm assuming. But you know, either way, a lot of guys that support CDC said goodbye to Blade HQ because those guys are in our community, and that's one of the reasons they stopped doing sprinkles. They had to change their pattern.
So can you give just a little bit of background because I'm not familiar with that controversy?
So Blade HQ releases their Desert Warrior
Desert
knives,
Warrior. Mm-hmm.
Blue
Yep.
Blade sprinkles, um, and then the Crispy Donut community guys. They had their knives with the scales with the sprinkles, but they were like indented and they weren't colored. They didn't look the same to me. And they had specific patterns. They had a lot of blue and pink. Um, they started getting noticed and bought. They started working with companies. They released a Corvette XL with concept. They released a Kaiser Cormorant. They released a bunch of stuff with Vosteed. And then all of a sudden, Blade HQ wasn't happy because they were releasing knives with those companies. Um, so they were like, knock it off, or we're going to take you to court. And, they were like, we're just two guys running it out of our house.
Yeah.
So then they switched the pattern to like a pink and blue stripe. And then I think that's when they're like, well, let's just go all in on, and now they're Voyage. They got the fixed blade.
Yep.
And they're doing awesome stuff. And yeah,
This
and that's
this knife right here, the Outland by Voyage Blade Works.
yeah.
American made, D2 steel, aluminum, hidden lanyard hole. Really cool knife.
And yeah, Ginger Fisher says North Mountain Blade is doing almost an identical to Blade HQ. And so what I've heard, and don't quote me on all of this, this is what I'm gathering. So I'm not, please don't take my word as facts. But from what I've heard, the North Mountain one, they were giving out to creators. They sell them overseas in China. Their company's based in China, but they have not sold them in the States, from what I've been told. But I
Hmm.
couldn't say for sure. Now, there was another company that I'm drawing a blank with that did it, and they wanted Blade HQ to sell their cheap knife. I mean, it was cheap.
Hmm.
And I can't remember their name off the top of my head, but they had one that had sprinkles that was very close. And when they got on Blade HQ, it said with each purchase of a knife, you get a free sprinkle knife of theirs. So they're still holding on to that. They're gonna do
Interesting.
whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
And I'm not trying to like denounce. I'm not trying to make anybody sound horrible. Please don't send this to Blade HQ because half my videos have sprinkles in them. Blade HQ's nice.
No, dude, they're
but
definitely gonna do cease and desist against your sprinkle videos. They're gonna say, "Hey, this is
it,
too sprinkly."
I would go from 1,900 followers to like 30,000 overnight if that happened. Everybody would talk about it. The creator guy who has sprinkles in his video. Like. Yeah, it's hard to figure out. They're Blade HQ is very well established and huge. You know, um, so I don't. I mean, I guess that they're like, if they let one go, do they have to let the next one go, kind of a thing. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I guess some people told me they saw it coming, and I wasn't paying attention enough to realize it. So I was kind of like, wow, when I saw that video yesterday. But I like Hawk knives. I like Microtech knives. Um, we'll see where it goes. think he was. My guess is, he got all the stuff rolling before he said anything. And he was probably told he could finally speak somewhat. And he figured if he can be the first one to speak about it, he could maybe control, you know, I don't know. Um, I can hear you. You're kind of, your video's kind of skipping.
Community.
Yeah.
To see what the
Hey, Juan, I am Jack Black. Autographs, $500. DM me.
that's a discount.
um, Something different. What's in your pocket as we speak? Okay.
So
What's the
I've got
closest
my
knife to you?
the Rockwall flipper that just came out from
Oh,
Tactile Knife Company. It's not left my pocket. It is. They are not charging enough for this knife. I'm a big
not
fan of
enough?
Tactile. No, it's 329, and they should charge more. It's very very good. Take more of my money, Tactile Knife Company. What about you, Justin? What you got?
I've got the UK penknife, Spyderco. I love it. This was my first Spyderco.
Got those in stock. Those are solid. $95.
Yeah, this one has came with a certificate. I had a friend gift it to me, and
Yeah.
apparently it's a limited number, and it has a number stamped on it. But I've heard that people have the same thing stamped on theirs, so I don't know what the situation is.
Let's take a look. Oh. All right. What are we looking for?
So on the side with the spider on the blade, I have a 016V.
No, man, yours is special.
Hmm. I should probably put this one away and get a different one to carry then.
Mm,
Yeah, that's interesting.
nice. What kind of blade steel?
Spy 27.
Yeah, same.
Looks like, I mean, it's like identical,
Yeah.
except for that and the paperwork it came with. So
How fun. What a good friend, man. That's cool. All right, so I have a question for you. If you
mhm.
were going to Blade Show and you had a little bit of a budget, is there anything you would buy? I do have a shopping list, unfortunately, for going to Blade Show Atlanta. What would be on your shopping list?
A couple things, nothing crazy. Um, I mean, there's definitely going to be stuff that I haven't seen that I would pick up.
Yeah.
Tell you the places I would really want to hit up. American Blade Works. I'd see if they have any Model Ones available. I Chances would be very slim on that. Concept has a ton of stuff right now that I think is just killer. So I would
Mhm.
be hitting up Concept, and also I would be saying, "Hey Joyce, you're wonderful. Can we work out a deal?" uh, um, I would definitely be hitting up Migron, uh, a creator, Vu Fam.
Mhm.
He has a knife with them, and it's a premium one, and it comes out at Blade Show, and it is called the Vein. He's released it before with them, but they haven't done a run in almost a year, and they're going to offer it this time in DLC, full DLC. And it's big on my list.
How do you spell Vufang?
It's VU, and then the last is PHAM.
There we go. Ooh, that does look cool.
Yeah, so that would be huge on my list. CJRB said that they are going to have their Bowie Pyrite
Mhm.
as a flip joint at Blade Show as a prototype for sale, testing the market. I would take one of those.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't think we really need Bowie slip joints, but I'll buy one. um, I hit up Case, see what
Uh,
Case has. And I love companies all over the world, but I'm kind of curious about checking out newer American companies that I might not know about. And I would probably be doing some of that. So in my head, I've probably already spent like $4,000.
Probably. Well, I'll tell you, my number one is going to be the Fiel by Grimsmo.
Mm,
It's an integral titanium frame flipper, and I've been watching them make this. And what they did was they did the first artists 100, where it's like, hey, we're not totally dialed in yet. We feel good enough to sell it, but like these are the first 100, and I'm like, give me one of the first hundreds. I actually messaged John. I was like, hey, John, come on, buddy.
it never hurts to ask.
It doesn't. And I
You
wasn't
know,
asking for one for free. I just wanted the invitation to have the privilege to buy one, and did not get one of the original 100. So hoping I can get a Fiel at Blade Show Atlanta.
yeah.
Uh,
I got a lot of friends that'll be there. Um, Lefty with Devo knives. He's gonna have knives there that I'm assuming will sell out quick.
does he have a
Um,
booth?
yeah, they're gonna have a booth.
Nice.
Um, I don't know if they have any of their back catalog, but I know they'll have some of their new release, The Binge. Um,
Hmm.
Man, and that's why I want you to stop over there because the action they can come up with is unbelievable. Like just how smooth the knives work. It feels like a much more expensive knife. Um, Casey from Tempest Knives, he'll be there.
Yep.
He'll have some stuff there, and he has some of his stuff from Kubi there. Um, Trying to think. Loot will, I think, just be attending. I mean, he'll have stuff for sale through companies, but I don't think if they're selling anything directly. And if there's something in the comments you guys want to see a Blade show, or correct me if I'm wrong, um, yeah, I'm just curious what other people are thinking about. There's going to be so many releases, it's ridiculous.
Yes. Well,
And then I got to
guys,
try to catch up.
yeah, I do interviews with makers at Blade Show. So I did a lot of interviews at Blade Show, Texas. So if there's anybody you would like to see interviewed, let me know. We had some really good ones. We had Jack Wolf Knives talk about their American made before it didn't pan out. and then it
Yeah.
repanned out. So it was really
So
great.
yeah.
It was great to get to hear him talk about why they want to make in America, and then being able to kind of see it come full circle. And now I own one of the prickly pears, which is an American made Jack Wolf knife.
And yeah, I'm super excited for what he's doing next. See, there's so many. I shouldn't even be forgetting that. Like Ben is, a really nice guy. And so, obviously I would go bother him quite a bit.
Hmm.
um, and it would be great if there is a manufacturer that would open the idea. Like, even if they're not, even if they're a knife company, but open the door to do jobs on the side. Like you see so many of that so much of that happens overseas. Like, hey, I have a knife, but I need it produced. So Kubi will make your knife for you, throw your logo on it, and then you can still sell it. Um, Man, how awesome would it be to see Benchmade or Kershaw
Yeah.
do something with a facility? Because Jack Wolf, Devo, Tempest, all those guys that get crap for having their knives made overseas have been in touch with at least 50 companies in the US, and none of them will do their orders because surprisingly, seems like a large order to us is a very small batch order to these bigger companies, and they don't want to have to set everything up and then meet the quality standard of their small batches. Um, Hypercut would be another good person to see there. He's bringing a bunch of knives. I don't. He looks like such a young guy, and he does a lot of machining work for Microtech even, and his own knives. And if you're looking to get a knife from him, you're going to drop $900, no questions. Um, and he'll sell out immediately. Um, hey Ed, so there's just so much that's going on. It's really interesting, but I think not everybody can get their stuff made over here. But I feel like there could be a company that could take on three or four of these companies and find a way to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I go back and forth with that because one of the criticisms of knives being made in China isn't just that it's, physically made in another country, right? Part of the criticism is that, you have these giant factories that produce the same basic knife, but changed in certain ways. So now this knife is actually this brand, and now it's this brand. Uh, very similar, but they sell them to different companies as different knives,
and
and
and they
that's
set up at Blade Show and they offer turnkey business because you don't have to design, you don't have to do anything. Just take this and make a business, and that is
yeah.
what I don't like from the aspect. I mean, we already have affordable knives here. Kershaw makes $10 knives to $250 knives.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel bad for like Devo and Jack Wolf and stuff because they get hate, just hate. But it's American designers. They're selling the products to Americans, and the money is being made by an American. So very little of the money is what's outsourced.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it's tricky because it's real easy if we had a time machine and we could go back to the 90s, like that's impossible. We can't change where we are, and I think it's really hard to imagine how things get better, uh, other than just there being popularity around buying American.
and
And
as a kid, my family owned multiple different businesses. One of them was a circuit board business, and they had to get rid of it. But honestly, the working conditions was horrific. Like, you want to talk about air quality and stuff that didn't exist. So that's why they got rid of a lot of those businesses.
yeah.
Now, technology's come a long ways in 30 years. And even I was surprised when Ben from NAFS went over to China to check out the factories.
Hmm.
Clean, well lit. These people, it's the way they do it versus the way we do it is a huge factor. Like, this one mega city, they all make knives,
Hmm.
and everybody has a job, and it's the job they're good at. Like, if you are good at sharpening, that is going to be your job, and that is going to be what you do, and you're going to take pride in it, and that's it. And but it's not like here where it's like, hey, I'm looking for a job. Awesome, we need a guy to belt grind stuff. Here you go. You know what I mean? Like, um, and you can do that, or you could get better at it, and you can apply for it, saying that's your profession. But they have it so put together, as in, this is, if you live in the city, this is going to be your job
Yeah.
choices within this one small industry. And I mean, I don't see us opening a city of a million and saying we're all making Pop Tarts. Like, it's like, it's hard. We got to think. We got to learn from what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong,
Yeah.
and then bring it here. And
Well, I'll tell you one of the things that we're doing wrong is that in the knife community, hot take over here. Uh, a lot of people have commented. I did a video about Lynch Northwest's new fixed blade. It's called the Sparrow 7, and it looks awesome. Lynch Northwest, make clips and they make scales and they manufacture a lot of stuff. And they decided they want to start Lynch knives, and super exciting. And I was talking to Casey, and he was like, our biggest obstacle is just it's so expensive. It's so expensive.
yeah,
And, there's an economic term called economies of scale. The more you produce of a gadget or widget, the more expensive, the less expensive it is to produce each one of them. And, if you're only making 500 of a thing, you have to divide a lot of costs over very few end products. And that's really hard. And here's what people in the comments were saying. They're saying, well, this isn't even a real knife. This is a CNC knife. A
well, it's a
computer
fixed
made it.
blade, so
Hmm?
it's a fixed blade, so you could, a lot of them are CNC'd, and then you do the final steps at the end.
You know, uh, nearly every nearly every premium American made knife is the result of a CNC machine, because it's the only thing that's scalable. I
Right.
own some hand forged knives from men who just make hand forged knives. They can't make, 100 of these a month.
They're like a couple a week at most. And
So,
hi
so yeah.
Kathleen, hi Ground Fog. So for my little experience, I spent a lot of time coming up with an idea for a pry bar. Designed it out, sketched it out, checked out other pry bars, figured measurements out, all of that on my own. Then I went to Loot, who did all the CAD work for me. Now I have a choice. Do I try to offer that design to a company? They put my logo on it, they sell it as theirs. They give me just whatever they're willing to give me for it, and it's theirs to sell, whether they sell 100 or a million. Or do I try to get it made myself, and then I got to package it, come up with the whole deal? Right now, I'm trying to go the whole deal myself. I'm talking to a couple companies. One I'm very excited about, but it's CNC. It's a pry bar, but even just this little thing has been more time waiting on hearing back from companies that are so backlogged on stuff than being able to move forward, because they would take my business. You just have to get in line. But like with businesses, especially in the knife world, if you don't have at least one knife drop a month, you're already behind. And if you're not, I doubt that, saying, oh, I finally found somebody to produce this. Well, I'm guessing Jack Wolf isn't going to be able to release a new fixed blade, low numbered thing every month with that company. 'Cause otherwise, that company is just going to be Jack Wolf knives only. You know what I mean? Like, that do fixed blades.
Yep.
Um, so it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I understand things, so I like things from anywhere if I think they're done well.
Hmm.
But I get it, because when people when I was talking about the fixed blade, they're like, "Hey, you gonna, shop it to Kubi? They're quick. Or you gonna shop it to this?" I was like, I'm worried. I only need like 100 because I don't know if I can sell 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so if I can find a company that can produce 120 for me for in case there's errors or something, that's the way I want to go.
Well, you made me think about I was visiting with a maker who makes a number of different products, and they had told me that one of their release strategies is that they know they have a core base that will buy anything they put out, and they have a number associated with that group.
Right.
So there's basically, if they put out a turd on a stick, there's a certain number of people that will buy that turd on a stick, period. And they said whenever they're a little unsure on if something's going to be successful, they release the turd on a stick number of like that group. They release that number and see what the reception is with the people who they know will buy it. They and this is a big company that produces a lot of things, and even they're not sure what's going to be a hit and what's potentially going to sit on the shelves, because if
Right.
you are machining something, you cannot have it sit on a shelf. Like that's just not part of the business model. You have to be able
And this
to.
will be my first thing. So I don't have a number basis. I
Mhm.
have a follower basis. And I know not everybody's going to be able to, because after talking about getting it produced and packaging, a titanium pry bar, it's going to be close to $100 to a limited number. Um, and like, so Kathleen said, case and Benchmade, they can make anything and it'll sell,
Mhm.
especially case. And that's why I think case runs into quality issues, like 1 out of 3. But I'm like, I'll just bend it myself a little bit. But they have the collectors, they have the carriers, they have the, well, this is America right here. Like they could put the ugliest color out, and I've seen those ugliest colors, and they say limited, and then that knife sells for $400 on aftermarket, and they sold it for 60, sold out in day one. Um, Benchmade,
Case.
yeah, I think there's less of them, but man, like I just did a review for the mini Adira. Great knife. How do I review this knife? This knife is a great knife. This knife is also $250 for FRN and Magna Cut. So I'm going to judge it by the knife and not by the price. I'm saying this is a great knife if it is in your price range. And it's made specifically, for people that are in the water. So then I got to think about, okay, I could give you comparisons, but I can't give you water comparisons because I would send you to quiet carry. Well, if you're going to spend money on quiet carry, you're going to spend double probably what you're spending on the Benchmade. Which are, I mean, I love quiet carry. They make great knives. Um, but it takes you to a whole nother league because I know people where their cutoff is 100. I have people that their cutoff is 200, 250. You really start losing people after 250. Um, from what I've
Well,
seen.
I looked it up on Blade HQ for the Adira to see if there were any like sales or anything. 230. And I'll tell you, the thing it has going for it is it looks kind of like a dragon. You know, like it looks like maybe, like if a bladesmith had a dragon as inspiration and they're like, let's make a dragon-ish knife. Uh, but it looks like it would be bulky in your hand.
And
Did it?
it's no, I'll pull it out. It reminds me very much though of their Griptilian.
Hmm.
Um,
Size wise?
I'm actually using the box, so hold on. I will say the packaging phenomenal, and this was sent over to me, and I'm sending it on to the next guy, so that's why I gotta open it back up. But
So these are on TikTok. The clones of this knife are on TikTok for $30 all the time, and I
you're
hate it.
not getting Magna Cut. You're not getting a lifetime warranty. You're not getting the guarantee that you can drop this in the ocean and pull it out in 2 days and it's still going to work.
Mm,
Does come with a lanyard and bead.
it's nice.
Um, I will say the Grivery scale. It is a little bit of a hot spot because I'm the guy who grips too hard, but and this is the mini, so they make a fuller size, which is what I would probably go for because I fit, but just barely. But if I can touch my fingers to my palm, it's not too big.
Hmm.
Um, and I do like the blade shape. And as far as the scales I mentioned in my review, they have tons of grip because if you're in the water, that was the first thing I checked was like, if I'm in the water with this, how likely am I going to drop it?
Yeah.
But I think I would be pretty good. And it's
Do
on
you ever
washers,
do you
but the
ever go
sound
on
is
boating or water or fish or anything?
what?
Are you a fisher or a boatsman ever?
Not so much.
No.
I will go fishing. I don't mind it. I don't dislike it. I'm not the guy who goes and sits out on the pontoon boat all day. And we don't have salt water here. It's all like mucky.
Hmm.
They call it fresh water. It's not nothing fresh about it. But we don't get rust. Like there you go.
I I have to say, for $150, $150 is a price that I feel a lot more comfortable buying a utility based knife that I have a higher chance of losing because I'm a boatsman or I'm a fisherman. 150, man, if I lost a $150 knife, I'm gonna be pissed, but you know, I'm not gonna lose sleep over that.
Yeah, and Spyderco's had the salt series for quite a while. So I know Kathleen carries a Spyderco salt.
Hmm.
And like she just said, she would love it, but it's priced too high to carry. Hey, well then, Carrie. um, but so it's interesting. Um, and so like changing topics again. Uh, where my channel is, I am a few hundred hours away from monetization.
Heck yeah, brother.
Um, and that's awesome. And I have spent a lot of money on knives over the past 2 years. But now
Do
I'm
you
trying to.
do you have a spreadsheet? Oh, I have a spreadsheet of every knife I've ever bought and how much I sold it for. And it's a joy to keep up with, but man, it really does like hammer home just how big of a
I mean,
hobby
I was,
this is.
I was checking my stuff at, tax time. I
Yeah.
spent way more than I thought I would, more than I should have by any means. But I'm not out of the budget realm, but it would take a lot. It has to check a lot of boxes now. When I first started, I was buying them cheap, buying cheaper knives, so I had content. But now I'm at a point where I'd rather have the pieces. I'd rather have it, so quality over quantity. Um, and I'm gonna ask some of the other guys when you hit this point where, and maybe they don't. Some of the older guys don't know because they were the first. So, but they're all at high numbers now. Some companies want to work with me, but not the number of companies that some of these older guys that have the bigger numbers. Um, and it's getting to a point where my channel is either going to have to start generating revenue, or they're going to have everybody's going to see the same knives over and over again. Cuz it's just I've been trying to stretch it out, but I just overdid it. So I've been that's all, like, with the art company. I'm trying to come up with other ways to get stuff shown, or maybe it's not as costly. And I tell that whenever somebody comes to me like, "Hey, I'm looking about starting a channel." I'm like, "Awesome. Are you in it because you want to do it and it sounds fun? And B, are you willing to spend a ton of money? Because I can guarantee you there's no free stuff in the beginning."
Or
Thank you,
in the
Weldon
middle.
Carey. Weldon Carey. I remember when he messaged me, he's like, "I started a channel. What should I do?" And I was like, "Here's what I did right and did wrong. Go for it." He's at like 6,000 followers. He has surpassed me. He does great stuff. He does lots of lives, and it's cool. I love seeing that. Big Jim has that problem now. And I also have always told people one knife doesn't equal one video. I mean, you can get 10 shorts out of the same knife, and you can do a review video, you can do a 6-month in video. Um, but also I'm in a lot of pass arounds, which, oh, no problem. No problem, man. Um, but my UPS bill, even using, like, discount shipping sites, 150 a month easy. So then the pass arounds get too expensive, and then I got to cut back on that. It's like it's a it's an interesting game, and I'm at this very interesting point right now where I'm trying to figure out what direction to go next and how
I've
can I
I've
make it
actually heard
feasible.
I've heard some really good advice about this, and I've used some of the advice to my own advantage. And we hit on my TikTok channel, we have 10,000, so I'm now monetized on TikTok,
Nice.
and that's cool. Um, I I think the thing that really changed my social media was when I went from just showing knives to showing myself. And like the channel, like people follow my channel because I like knives and I'm passionate about it, but also because I I show my personality a lot. And then the other thing I do a lot of is I use my knives on camera, and I do things with my knives. So it's not just like, a spec sheet video, but I'm
Right.
opening energy drinks and Cliff Bars, which, that's a shtick, but it's
You get the
also,
love and the hate.
yeah, I mean, it's knife usage too. And I think the advice was, when you're doing social media, if you have an idea of something else you could do and you think, that's not really what I do, just do it. Like,
Yeah.
just do everything. And I think with TikTok more than any other social media, it's about rolling the dice as many times as you can.
Yeah.
If you want
I
to
will
hit
say
those,
YouTube and TikTok, totally different worlds. I do my lives almost Monday through Friday most of the time. There's usually a day or so where something comes up, but we get a bit more personal interaction. Big community. Hey Shay, thank you, man. Right back at you. Um, got the diehards here in YouTube, and they go over to Insta. We can DM all that. TikTok. I do my ASMR videos, and there are people that just want to see the ASMR videos. They don't want to see my face. They don't want to hear about me. They have been pulled in by those videos, and they want to stay seeing those kind of videos. Um, and every time I try to branch out a little bit, TikTok seems very confused. Why is there a face in this video? Um, but also the amount of hatred on TikTok and the amount of people saying they would rather buy counterfeit blows my freaking mind on TikTok. On YouTube, everybody here would be like, hell no, this is a community. And there's people that have jumped into my comments and told me I suck because I don't find them Timu ripoffs with the logo. I'm like, I'm an artist. I'm a designer. That's never going to be okay with me. Um, and then on top of that, so I'm posting Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, sometimes Red Note, um, and then I have my art business where I'm doing a lot of it on Instagram. But where Instagram was huge a few years ago, 10,000 followers, selling art online, but that was like COVID time. People were just buying online. So I'm in galleries and things like that, but to take the next step might be to move away from Instagram for art and move it to YouTube, which means I'm starting a whole nother channel all over again. And I am overwhelmed.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. I'm really curious on your experience because my experience has actually been the exact opposite. And my like I posted quite a bit on TikTok, but I also post on Instagram at a probably like one out of every five videos I'll port over to Instagram as well. And one of the reasons why is all the comments I get on Instagram, one, they're a lot less. I could just get way less views. And it's probably because I engage less over there. But the comments are so much worse for me on Instagram. They're
Mm.
like, I've had people threaten me in my Instagram comments, and I've had people say
See,
things
I get
on.
that on TikTok.
Isn't that crazy? So we have like the like reversed experience. Like
And
TikTok is where I have all of like the nice people. And I'm like, oh, I like interacting with these people. I go over to Instagram and they're like, ah,
well, I mean, I've met a lot of amazing people through TikTok. You being one of them. I don't remember how we first met, but we did. And there's a few people that from the get go that I met that are great. And I think TikTok doesn't know about the YouTube Instagram community, and maybe the Instagram YouTube community does not want to go over to TikTok. Um, but you know, working with companies, I'm looking for ways to save money. So I want to help them help help them help me, have it be mutual,
hmm
as a business. Um, because I can't afford to show every single thing. But those companies, to even get them to look at you, I mean, I've asked them, they're like, we get 200 emails a day from people saying they have a channel.
wow.
Why? What is it that's standing out about me? So when I started leading with, I'm on TikTok and people see it because the numbers are crazy. Plus, I do YouTube and I'm in the community and I'm on Instagram and I'm telling everybody where to get it. Um, that stands out to them sometimes more when they're like, "Oh, he's also on these," because they're like, "Hey, we like your content, but we're pretty saturated with people. People know we exist.
Yeah.
People have seen our knife. The four big guys have got our knife. Everybody's seen it.
hmm
Thanks, but fair enough. That's more than fair. Like, oh, how many people do you think are interested in knives on TikTok? I'm like, a case knife gets like 50,000 views on TikTok. I don't know. Like, I could show I could show a $350 knife that they've never heard of, and then it gets no views because nobody's heard of it yet. But
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, case collectors, which I did not peg as a TikTok demographic, like old guys that only buy American old knives.
Yeah.
But they're searching TikTok for old slip joints.
Yeah, it's a
So
wild differentiator where some people pick a social platform and then they really stick to it and they feel very loyal to it. And you're right, it is weird who chooses what. And I also wouldn't think that there'd be a lot of knife people on TikTok. as someone who's been on the platform for a long time, when I talk to people about it in real life, they're like, "Oh, you mean that like that platformer girls are just doing dances?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "Dude, that was in 2020, brother."
those
Like,
kids are onto another site that I don't even know of yet. 'Cause
absolutely.
I don't see young people on there, period.
Yeah,
That sounded weird, but yeah,
the
I don't see people on there.
that's because of your algorithm. That's a good thing, Justin, that the algorithm's like, we don't even need to show young people to this old man.
Yeah, so the other interesting thing I've learned is knife people wanna see my art. They're genuinely interested. Might not be for them, but they still wanna see it. They wanna know more about it. Awesome. Art people aren't knife people generally. And not as in like, ooh, knives, as in their brain is set for, I'm known for abstract art. So it's weird to think that I also think in like an engineering way. And that's what gets me into knives, like materials and the build. So they're not thinking that way. Like they're not going to be the person collecting watches. They're not collectors. They're makers. So it's very interesting, I guess. So that's why I've considered, because my YouTube or my Instagram for art has been just dying, and it's dying for all artists. Switching to video and then giving video the big lead. Um, but still, YouTube is going to give me more reach than Instagram, even with videos. So, um, and it's hard to explain sometimes. And, back when it was pictures, I could show whatever I wanted, the progress and finished product. But then when people want to see it done on video, they don't see the hours of long process of me getting ready for this painting. And then they wonder, like, well, why did it only take 10 seconds? I'm like, well, I let a layer dry and then I came back and I thought about it and then I did this. So you're only seeing the physical aspect crunched together. Like when I do my, ASMR knife videos, they know I've cut clips together to make it under a minute, but the art people aren't, it's like not clicking.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about moving to YouTube because if I have to make videos, I'm going to do it differently. But the other thing is, and this is the thing I hate, I'm known for making smaller art, consumable art. um, but you know, I used to do really well. Color does well, but then there's people that rent out the crappiest warehouse forever, how big it is, so they can throw paint without any concern, and it looks like they're, you know, big building, big canvas, must be a really big famous name. Probably not, but they're getting the views because it puts that in your head, that subliminal, wow, they've got all this space and all this, and they're doing this. Doesn't mean they sold the painting, but makes people think they're big. So if they do sell one, they can put a price tag that might be, it's difficult. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to redo my art. And maybe it's going to be a paint with me kind of thing. Um, I don't know yet. So I'm working through that. And I'm sorry to
Yeah,
everybody
that's
I've missed in the comments. Robo, do the pound brush, the whack on the easel in between each cut in the painting videos. That's a good one. I could do that. That would be cool.
well, art's very important. And there's a cycle of people's desire for art, and it's an inverse relationship to their feeling of economic certainty. When people feel really good about their economic situation, they're more likely to invest in things that are going to contribute to their mental health, which is what art does. It makes things prettier, it makes your home more you. But when economic uncertainty is high and people have anxiety about the economy, you have to really focus on like what you're going to buy. And
Right.
art is,
And that is definite here, which it's
yep,
funny in Europe it is frowned upon to find a Walmart and buy cheap art that is mass produced. If you went to somebody's home, most homes in Europe, you will find original art. It's just a cultural thing. Whether they made it themselves or they bought it, it's the pride of getting it from someone.
So it sounds like you
Um,
need to figure out how to sell your art in Europe. I'm an
believe
American
me,
artist, baby.
I mean I ship overseas. It's not cheap. It's not fun, but um, it's been very very slow and not getting into in a deep dive. Yeah, I'm sorry. I usually don't do that, but it's hard when you got to rethink your business model because it works so well one way for so long, and now I'm trying to run two separate things. You know,
What does your wife think you should do?
um, quit spending so much. Like sometimes I get a lot like, how come that costs so much? I'm like, well, if you go to the store and you buy your paint set, you make your painting, that's cool. I am all for therapeutic art. If you want to make art, it makes you feel good, do it. I don't care if people think it looks bad. I don't care if it's made cheap, but I know I'm making something that is going to be sold. I buy specific products. I buy golden paint only for the most part because they guarantee 100-year light safe, no fade. That comes with a price tag, like $13 an ounce. You know, I paint on wood. That costs money. You know,
You paint
getting
on wood?
like wood panels instead of canvas. Remove the canvas and you just have the wood
Oh,
frame.
yeah.
I prefer to paint on that, and then I will get a little destructive and use my Dremel. Thank you, Dremel, my only sponsor.
Brought to you by Dremel.
Yeah. And if you're on Threads, Dremel has one of the funniest accounts there is.
So I have a question for you. Um, do you know about Best Damn EDC?
Yes.
Okay. So they've got, I believe his name is Taylor Martin. He's the Best Damn EDC guy. And I've watched a few of his videos lately, and towards the end, and this guy, like, I'm pretty sure he's doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah.
He's partnered with some big brands
Huge.
to he's probably in the high six figures of earnings, if not even higher with overall net worth due to his branding. This guy, he's one of the folks that are like, if we were to look into the EDC community, like, he's one where we can all say this guy is very successful.
Right.
At the end of his YouTube videos, he has a section where he thanks his Patreons. And I've seen that, and I am wrestling with how I feel about that, because it feels weird to see a super successful person have a list of people who are donating money to them on a continuous basis. That feels kind of weird. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I need to get me a Patreon. Golly,
I don't have one.
man.
A lot of guys do. I don't. Um, I've always preferred to be like, hey, I've got notebooks for sale that'll help the channel, things like that. I've never flat out been like, please. Um, but like MC, here's where it gets kind of tricky. On YouTube, you pay for his membership. Then you get the cool little emojis to put in the chat that says, I pay attention to me, which doesn't really work because he has so many people. But then he also has Patreon and tiers. Now, if you pay $1 a month, he gives one knife away through random. You pay $5 a month, he gives 5 knives away So the more you pay in his Patreon, you have a chance of winning a knife. But for those of us that just pay for the YouTube, nothing.
Hmm.
But also, he makes six figures through YouTube. I mean, he's almost at 1 million subs. Super chats, he can, I mean, the way his screen goes, he sees like every third one, you know? Um, it's tough.
So I think kind of where my head lands is, if you're really focused on, your community that got you to where you are, it is kind of weird after, you don't need their support anymore to keep getting their support. But at the same time, more money. I'm not gonna shame anybody for capitalism. But for me, whenever I'm thinking about like, well, I added a tip feature on my site. When people buy a knife from me, they can leave a tip. And lo and
That's cool. There's
behold,
like the buy me a coffee and stuff. I don't have
uh
any of those, but I've thought about it.
well, lo and behold, man, you'd be surprised. About 25 to 30% of all of my orders will throw in a $5 tip.
Wow.
And they are like, if I didn't have that, then I'm saying no for their generosity. I created a way that they can be generous if they want to. And I think it's one of those weird things where, having as many opportunities for you to monetize oftentimes is the right way to go. Just having a carte blanche approach, all of
Yeah.
the above. And I think the somebody had mentioned down in the chat, are you doing whatnot for your art? And I think,
I've thought about it. I got to run numbers on things, and I do. And now when I'm associated with galleries, they have expected prices, and you can't undercut your gallery. Um, and galleries take 50%. Now, if I sell it,
what?
hear me out.
No way.
So if I sell it on my own from my house, they don't get a cut. But if it sells out of the gallery, they get 50%. But they deal with the person's shipping issues. They deal with the packaging it up, mailing it, securely getting it there, all of that. They just send me a check. But, so when I say something that is a 5x7 is starting at $100, because if I sold it through the gallery, I'm only getting half that, and then my cost and materials. And the one I'm in right now is great. Some of them will take huge regions. They'll be like, you can't sell in another gallery in the state or half the state. The one I'm in is they have the rights to the city, and that's it. Um, Now, of course, they all want to see your stuff before you show the next person,
Yeah.
so they can have more choice. But
Well, somebody said you should drop your Cash App in the
and
chat and then pin it. The
my
thing is,
email is my PayPal.
the thing is, Justin, like I think, I'm an over analyzer. I overthink everything, right? And for
Same.
me, it's like, well, why would I put my Cash App? Because honestly, while $5 here, $5 there is nice, it's not going to dramatically get me to where I want to be. That's kind of the way I think of it. And if I'm spending time and resources on something that's not actually getting me to my goal, it's kind of pointless. But then, the other side of me is like, well, if instead of it being a substitution, this or this, if I make it additive, where I'm adding different things that people can do, you can buy a knife, you can leave me a tip, you can subscribe, you can send me a cash app. Well, now all of a sudden, I have a delicious capitalism sandwich.
And maybe that's the hard part is I don't like to I like to provide something, even if it's minimal, even if it's just a shout out, you know? Um, hey Ron, um, really Rome? I had no idea. Um, but so I don't want to be I have a hard time saying, here's this, send me money. So like I'm approaching monetization. Um, and I'm like, hey, great. I'm gonna use some of that money for me surviving in the channel, and some of that money is gonna go to some giveaways. I do a giveaway once a week. Um, I get sponsored giveaways for milestones. Flytanium is sponsoring my 2K giveaway when I get there. But my weekly ones are all out of on me. And sometimes I am like, okay, what am I gonna do? um, and then I'm like asking people, I'm like, hey, we get monetized. I think of this as kind of a group collective. Do we want to do giveaways the same way? Or do we want there to also be, when people become channel members, a giveaway? Since they're kicking in, do we want to do something extra? And I thought everybody would be like, no, we all want a fair chance. And then people were like, can you do one of each? And I'm like, sounds good, but then I got to come up with so it's and then shipping and things. So I'm so close, and it goes up and down with waves for how like things go, and I'm in a low right now, and I know it's going to kick up at some point, and I'll get there, and it'll take like 3 days. But while I've had these few weeks of it in that lull, I'm like going back and forth, like what do I need to be doing?
Well,
And
there were some good
driving
ideas
myself
in the
crazy.
chat on things that you can be working on. Like, I think if you don't already have a website with like Shopify, I mean, that,
I have one for my art. It's very behind the times. It's not active even actually. I mean, I have it, but
yeah. But you could have, with, you can have a Shopify store and then partner with,
oh, you froze. Oh, yeah. I have a lot of issues with
to be
that.
able,
Um,
what if it was different art than what you, like, what if it was specifically for that?
the problem is there's not much per sale for the effort.
Mm,
Digital downloads are just so much cheaper. The second part is, as an artist, I check in with like interior decorators and stuff, and now their go-to is Etsy downloads. And they're like, why would I buy your painting for $100 when I can buy this one for 30 or for $15 and just print it off? Like, because that's garbage art. Like, not, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's bringing down the value because they're just staging a home, but now they're telling their friends, look at where I got this. It only cost this much. And they're not separating the original from the print like people used to. Like I'm not a fan of running prints, but if I ran a print, it'd have like a seal stamp, it'd be signed, it'd be a limited numbered run, be high res, top of the works, almost cost as much as the original. um but people that are doing these home printing stuff and things just to get it by, to look nice for 10 minutes in the background for a sale, it has done me a disservice because people are always like, well, I can buy it for $3 with my coupons on Etsy. And I'm like, well, you're not buying mine. But
yeah.
it's hard enough in the world to get people to justify the price of art, let alone I don't want to be part of that where they're devaluing art.
Hmm. Yeah, man, that's tough. I mean, I well, $3 though. Is that like exaggerating?
No, I actually
No.
was speaking with one, and she was like, almost fell over when I told her my prices, and I was gonna give her a discount, 'cause, if I can start,
Yeah.
a deal, like, "Hey, I'll cut you a deal. You keep me first in mind next time." She's like, "But I did all the last houses, and it was $3 with this," because she paid $3, and then she just printed it off her crappy printer at home, threw it in a frame she found at her mom's house. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And just for the person who asked who I am, I'm Chris. I'm the owner of Lone Star Knife and Supply. I own a knife store where I only carry American made knives. And then I also have a TikTok where I talk about knives and I'm really silly. And so Justin and I run in similar circles, shall we
You
say.
do. And,
And he
Rome
is
Rome
the
Dog, Illuminati, all artists in here. A lot of artists in the knife world.
hey, I love that. Have you I just there's so many like colorways that are coming out that are very artistic and there's designers who are designing those. Anything there?
Um, I haven't reached out to companies. Um, I have seen some of that, like what would you call it, like newspaper cartoon art,
Yes.
and I
Comics
see it.
looky.
And no offense to the people doing it, but I followed the guy that started that, and this dude is painting actual BMWs that look like a piece of paper is driving down the street. So I want to be like, call him, but his price is going to be nowhere near. Um, I've painted scales, like hand painted scales for people, and that's done well. But as far as like being able to come up with like something on something where they just like get it, um, put on permanently in a different way, I haven't really reached out in that aspect, and maybe I should. That should be something I should consider.
Well, somehow this live turned into we gotta figure out monetization strategies for Titanium Justin.
It's trying to figure out the time I have during the day to get as much done as possible. Um, we homeschool, so a good chunk of my day is getting family stuff done, and so then it's also a lot of thinking time about stuff. And I'm not knocking anybody who is buying cheap knives or cheap art. I have cheap knives, and I've bought cheap art. I've sold cheap art. Um, but
But there's a
just
big difference between being okay with other people doing it and making the same choice yourself. You know,
right.
so
And that's why I spend so much time trying to focus on where I want to take things. Um, I want to be taken somewhat seriously. I think that's my thing is I want to have a good time with my friends in the chat, have a good time, but I also want people to know like, hey, I reviewed this and I'm gonna be honest. I reviewed a fixed blade the other day, the new Rosecraft fixed blade. Loved it.
mhm.
One of my favorite companies, Tenable, owned by Concept. Happened to at the same time get a fixed blade in from them. And like I told you, I would love to work with Concept.
Mhm.
I did not like that fixed blade at all. And in my live, I brought it out. I haven't done a review or anything, but I was like, these two knives are night and day. And it's crazy. And I can love this company, but I do not love this knife. So that's me being honest, because a lot of times I'll see people say they don't always trust reviewers. And I'm not gonna be that guy. I want you to come back and be like, dude, that was a good knife I picked up as opposed to you suck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because there is definitely a financial incentive, for you to want to be pleasant with these companies. I chose my word there carefully because if you are really unpleasant and you're like, this is a terrible knife, then you're probably not going to be picked again to look at another knife. And it creates, there's a reason why people think that. And you're absolutely right, but you as the creator, you also have to walk a line,
Right.
because you have to figure out, like, how can I, because you want to be able to have a voice in the conversation. You want to be able to handle that thing and be one of the people that people listen to, but you can't do that if you're not able to get your hands on the product. So it creates a little bit of a circle where, even if you don't like it, how do you express your dislike in a way that isn't negative?
Well, what I do is I go through it and I don't bash the company. I say the things I don't like. And I will say, I don't know if I've run into a company that has said, "Hey, if you don't like it, don't post a review." I've never had that. I've had companies that be like, "Hey, if you get one and it obviously is not the standard of most of our knives, so obviously there was a quality control issue, please let us know first and we'll swap you out. And then you can judge it."
Yep.
I'm gonna have to get going here soon.
Well, I will wrap up my portion of the what I'm going to get from Blade Show
And I
with.
hear you, Bando. I totally understand that. Reach out to some of us and see if you can get in a pass around.
Yeah, dude, you can't buy everything. I want to get my
Right.
hands on one of these Dixons. I like big knives, and I want to get a Dixon that has been anodized blue, because they've
Cool.
got they've got the regular one for the peasants who don't get to go to Blade Show. And then at Blade Show, they've got a green and a blue anodized. So trying to get my hands on one of those.
So I hope you get it, man.
Yeah.
Um, well, I want to say thanks for everybody for going into this deep dive, not normal live. Thanks to Chris, he is awesome, and definitely check out his store, Lone Star Knife and Supply. Lots of cool stuff on there, and he sends stickers with his stuff
I do. I have new stickers and they're a lot of fun.
and lanyards. If you want a lanyard or your pocket clip flipped, he will do that before he sends it.
And I have pretty colors too. So it's not just tactical black. I do have tactical black, but we can do something more fun.
There you go.
Well, Justin, thanks for hosting and thanks for having me. It was a pleasure, and look forward to coming back one day.
Oh, definitely. All
All
right.
right. Have a
Have a
good
good
rest of
one,
your day.
man. Bye, everybody.